Hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on MisplacedStraws.com, where music comes to life. And my guest today is a true pioneer. She has one of the great voices in the rock era. She's an accomplished visual artist, and her classic band Renaissance is about to kick off their In Gratitude farewell tour. It is an honor to welcome Annie Haslam. Welcome, Annie.
Oh, thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
So now let's start with the tour. What could fans expect? Is it something that's going to touch on the entire career of Renaissance?
I wish it could. I mean, we've got such a large volume of great songs from over the years that whenever Michael Dunford and I sat down there to plan the tour and the set list, every time it was like, well, we know we've got to please the audience, but like we can't go over 2 hours. You know, and then usually 90 minutes, something like that. And a lot of our great songs are 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a dilemma every time we did the tour. But we've just we're doing something that a few songs we haven't done. We're doing Prologue, Path to the Sun, Ocean Gypsy. We'll be doing Mother Russia, which we did take out when the Ukraine situation started, only because we didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, side with anybody or anything. So we decided that we should put that back in, so Mother Russia is back in. Then we've got Ireland, which was the song that got me the job with the band. Song for All Seasons. We're doing a song from the album Tuscany that came out in 2001, I think it was, 2001. And that's a really fabulous song, really, a real Renaissance song, and it's up-tempo and really exciting. So we did do it actually in Japan when we played there in, when was it? My gosh. 2001, actually. That's when around that time when we took that was when we toured Japan. So what else are we doing? Forever Changing, which is a very beautiful song that Terry Sullivan and Betty Thatcher wrote together. He wrote it about his father who just passed away, and Terry also wrote the beginning section of Song for All Seasons, which I didn't know about until last year. I didn't realize, I've got too much else going on. Anyway, so we're doing that because we haven't done that since the 70s. And Young Prince and Princess from Scheherazade. It would be too long to do the whole piece, because that would take up half the show.
Yeah.
So, we decided to do the love song from Scheherazade.
And you had mentioned, Ireland is the song that got you the job. And let's kind of look back through the history a bit. And as the Yardbirds fell apart, Jimmy Page and the new Yardbirds became Led Zeppelin, but Keith Relf, Jim McCarty, and some help from Paul Samuel Smith went in a different direction to form Renaissance as kind of a classical folk band.
Yeah.
Prior to you auditioning, were you aware of the band, of those first two records of Jane Relf, who was the original female lead?
Never heard of them. I was singing. No, it's interesting. That's an interesting question, but an obvious question, but nobody's ever asked me that. I was singing in a cabaret group. That was my first professional job in London for about 6 months. And I loved every minute of it, singing standards and things with 3 other guys, and we were called the Gentle People, and we played music for when people were eating dinner, and then there was a break when the main show was on, with all different kind of acts on, and that was the break for us, and then we'd go back on for people to dance to. We'd play music for people to dance to, and I loved it there. I loved the people. It was so much fun. And then there's David Gardner, who's the guitarist. He said to me, Annie, I've just found this ad in the Melody Maker and I think you're wasted here. I think, I mean, it's great having you in the band and everything, but your voice is different. It's unique. You deserve to be in something different, And he said, I've got a feeling about this. So I called up, and the band were playing in Europe at the time, and so I bought the album, the first album that they had, Kings and Queens, that one, fantastic album. And I learned everything on it, and I loved Island. That was my favorite, and that's what they asked me when I went to the audition. They asked me to sing Island.
And when you did audition in '71, I mean, it kind of became a really different band. The legendary Miles Copeland was essentially putting a brand new band together using the same name.
Yeah.
So what was it like kind of coming into, well, you're joining this band, but it's not really that band, it's a new band?
I know, well, it was a bit confusing. But the audition was New Year's Eve 1970. And the day after, the 1st of January 1st, 1971, I got the phone call, you got the job. Yeah, it was interesting. When I joined, it was a 6-piece band, and it was a male singer, Terry Crow. And I wasn't the lead singer. I was basically quite almost like a backing singer, really. I sang 2 songs, Island on stage, and another one called Face of Yesterday, and then backing vocals for all the other songs. But, I didn't know any different at that time. I loved the music, and but then Miles Copeland came into the picture, who became our manager, and he could see the potential in the band with me and John Tout, and he just said, no, we have to change all this. So he fired everybody except me and John Tout. And then John Tout and we had to build a band, and because we hadn't recorded anything ourselves other than what the first band did. So when we did the auditions, and we auditioned a lot of people, a lot of bass players, and a lot of drummers, and we played Prologue because it was the easiest one to show the difficult parts of the band, and as well as for me. Because I use quite a few octaves in that song as well, so it gives a very good idea. Although it's not really, it is a song, it's a vocalist, but it was enough. And we have got lots of bass players, and then John Camp arrived, and he obviously fit in, and he was playing a Rickenbacker bass, which the sound of the Rickenbacker bass, there's nothing like it. It's got its own sound that's not. Bases, don't do anything for me if they're just thud, 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 you know what I mean?
Right.
I like a musical bass. And John used to play it really like a guitar almost. Fitted the music perfectly. And funnily enough, I'd been to an audition in a band, and I think it was the New Seekers. And John was in that band, and I went for an audition, but I didn't get the job. So isn't that funny? So anyway, John joined, and then the next thing we had to do was to find a drummer, and we went a lot of drummers as well. My gosh, bang 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 bang. That was for me, But when Terry arrived, you could tell that he's more of like an orchestra drummer, you know what I mean? Has a really good feel for all kinds of music, particularly classical music, of course. And but I think apparently we were told this afterwards. John Tout gave Terry a tip, and he said, if you can play the hi-hat in this part and perfectly in time, you get the job. So when it came to that part, whatever it was we were playing, we might have learned, when John joined, we might have been able to play some other things, you know what I mean, rather than just voice and piano. And so when we came to this bit, Terry knew what to do, and he did, and he got the job. But because Terry really they really got on together very well. And John Tout, when you're a musician, it's different than from being a singer, And when you're playing with drums, you've got to be tuned into the drums as well. You can't just stand out front and do your own thing. You've got to be looking at the drum and get the feel. Same as the bass player and everything. Bass player has to really look at the drum. Everybody's got to look at the drums. Some people don't. That's why the bands don't succeed. But everything worked out. And Michael Dunford had left the band at that point and decided Miles wanted him to stay on as a writer, which was good, with Betty Thatcher. So they carried on doing that. And that's when we brought in a guitarist, electric guitarist called Mick Parsons. He auditioned. He was Cornish, actually. What a lovely human being. Brilliant guitarist. Acoustic guitar, electric guitar, phenomenal. Lovely personality, nice looking. Everything about him was amazing. And my parents were living in Cornwall at the time, also. And when we gave Mick the job, Miles and I went down to Cornwall. He had to. I think he came up on the train, but we decided to drive him back. We drove him back to Bodmin, where he lived, and then Miles and I went to see my mum and dad, and then we would pick Mick up the next day. That was the plan. You get all his stuff together. But what happened was that night. We found out in the morning he went out to celebrate with his fans and got killed in a car crash.
Oh, wow.
I know. It was heartbreaking. It was for many reasons. His whole life was cut off. He was like in his early 20s. Oh, God. I'll never forget that.
Unbelievable.
Right. It was. You can't make this stuff up, can you, really?
Yeah.
And you never know what's going to happen. And why did it happen to him? It's such a lovely person. And he was so excited. He would have been fabulous in the band. So anyway, we had to find somebody else because we had a tour lined up and an album to do. And so we found Rob Hendry. And Rob Hendry ended up after I was in the Pretty Things, I believe. But yeah, he was with us. He was a good guy, a vegetarian. I'll always remember that. I wasn't vegetarian yet at that time, but he was a good guy. It was fun and everything, and he was a good player, And but he was more. It was a bit heavier. I dealt with it, but it was, for me, it didn't quite fit. It didn't quite fit the music, but. He was with us. He did the album with us, Prologue, and then we decided that we would bring Michael Dunford back in the band, playing acoustic guitar. And he came back in and he played. I think he played electric guitar on one song, but it was basically he rejoined the band as acoustic guitarist, which was perfect, really. It just blended so well,
Oh, without a doubt. And you had mentioned Michael and Betty Thatcher, who wrote a lot of the lyrics. As great as the musicians were, it's really the compositions of Michael and Betty that solidified what Renaissance is. I mean, talk a bit about what those two created with their songs.
Oh my gosh, well, Betty was a poet, obviously. She lived in Cornwall too, funny enough. And he was writing with Betty before I joined the band. I think they got some kind of relationship, but that was probably connected. He was connected to her by Jim McCarthy, because Jim was a good friend of hers as well. She's very much like me as far as when she wrote anything, she would go into a room and have a particular chair that she'd sit down in, and she said she used to plug in. So it's like she channeled at me. She channeled it. There's no doubt she was that kind of person. Because I do that when I paint. I don't think of anything unless I'm doing a commission. And so all this stuff comes in, and I don't plan colors. I never know what's coming. And Betty did the same thing. I mean, all those amazing lyrics that came out of her. And then there were a couple that was, that she based around my life, like Trips
Mm-hmm.
and Ocean Gypsy were the two big ones. And and Michael's melodies were just fantastic. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
They were just perfect for the band. John Camp did write some things as well. I think he was one of the writers on Dave the Dreamer, if I think right. And then, of course, John Tatt did. And Terry did as well, I just helped with the vocal arrangements and odd times. Very rarely I'd come up with a melody that, that worked, but not enough to be paid for it. But yeah, it was what a great team, really. Yeah.
And I always found it so interesting that, especially through the classic era of Renaissance, the band was always much bigger in America, specifically here in the Northeast, than even in your home country back in England. I mean, even back then, did you notice that you had this really loyal, dedicated following around, New York, New England, Philadelphia, that whole area up here?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and of course New York was huge as well for us. Well, Miles Copeland is American, and the first thing he wanted to do with us to start off with, as soon as we changed the band, we did the first one on EMI Sovereign Prologue, and then the next one was with Psy Records, or it was Warner Brothers Psy Records, whichever, but Psy Records with Seymour Stein, and we got that. I remember making a call in the middle of because I lived with Miles for a couple of years, and I remember we got a call in the middle of the night to say, we want to sign up Renaissance, and that was Ashes Are Burning. That was the first, that was the big one. But we were very fortunate because in the 70s, a lot of the radio stations, the college stations, and even the ones in the big cities, the DJs could play whatever they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And we were a favorite on WNEW-FM New York with Alison Steele, who in the end became a very close friend of mine. And they played a lot because last night I did an interview on Sirius on the Beatles channel, and Dennis Elsers from WNEW-FM was asking me the questions, which is like going back right to the 70s. Very interesting. But and then of course in Philadelphia, we had Ed Sharkey, another avid fan who was like, oh my gosh, never stopped playing us. And it was those two stations that really started. They did it with Yes and Genesis, and they could play long songs, and we were the pioneers along with the other guys, Yes and Genesis and the Moody Blues. And it was an exciting time, and there weren't so many restrictions on what you could do, what you couldn't do,
And now, over the past decade, you've really brought Renaissance full circle. I mean, Jim McCarty has guested with the band live on a few occasions. You've done performances with symphonies and orchestras. Do you feel like you've accomplished everything you needed to with Renaissance?
Well, I think everything that we've ever done is a big gift to me. Not that I usually strive for things, except, in the 70s when we did the orchestras and all that, when we reformed in 2009, Mickey and I kept saying, oh God, I wish we could play with an orchestra again. And actually, I think it was around 2010, I got a letter from the managing director of the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, and Ian McKay, and lovely guy, and he said, I wanted to invite you. We've been talking about, the next season or whatever, and we'd love to work with you again because they love the music, apart from anything else. Because we toured with them. Well, it was Birmingham, Manchester, and the Albert Hall that we did with the Royal Philharmonic, and so. It was all very well. I mean, everybody wants to play with them. It was really touching that they would contact us and say, let's do some shows. But of course, we have to pay for it. Like in the 70s, the record label paid for that stuff.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a major record deal to do that. So we did think about maybe doing a Kickstarter or something, but I didn't want to lose my house. There's no guarantee for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The cost, but we did get, we budgeted everything out for a 35-piece orchestra, and I had a meeting with him. Me and Rose Tessa, who's in the band now, we had a meeting with him in 2015. Just before we came back to America after a tour, and we thought, well, let's write it all down and see what we can do. So we had a lovely meeting, and Rave and I came back and we looked at everything. We said, gosh, it's too risky. And then all of a sudden Rave said, why don't we form our own orchestra? Then he said, I know some great musicians. One of them, actually, Joe Dennison, just joined Kansas. You probably know that.
Yep. Joe's been on here.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
He was in our Renaissance Chamber Orchestra.
Yes.
And so we've created this 10-piece orchestra. But this was after Michael died. It's such a shame that he missed this because, when we did it, I was thinking, oh my God, this is what we wanted all along, was to be able to play with an orchestra again. But unfortunately, in 2012, he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we didn't do ours until 2017. And that was incredible. And I thought when we were planning it, I thought, you know what, I think maybe I could incorporate my paintings. So we had a painting for each song behind the orchestra, enlarged. It was 12 foot by 24 foot. And looked amazing. Oh my God, it's fantastic. So I was realizing my dream then. You know what I mean? Not that I even knew that I had a dream, because I didn't start painting until 2002, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I've never really planned anything out. I was just very fortunate, I guess, being in the right place at the right time, or whatever, because if I hadn't joined that, if I hadn't gone and done that showboat in the Strand, I never have met David Gardner, who's the one who found the ad in the magazine.
And as Renaissance is about to embark on a farewell tour, you've always had such a loyal following. What would you say is the legacy of this band?
What do you mean by that?
How would you like the band to be remembered?
Well, I think that we're a unique band. I think that it's the kind of music that brings people together, particularly when we do live audiences, live shows. Mm-hmm. Because, and I've been told that a lot of people have met their wives at our concerts. And, it's just that kind of music that makes you want to hug the next person, I guess. A bit like flower power in a way. I shouldn't have said that, but you know what I mean? It's very feel-good music. It's very calming. I think my voice fits it perfectly. And I think that's part of the whole thing about the musical entity is a very calming and healing experience to listen to us. And my voice, within that.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Well, we've been spending some time here with Annie Haslam of the band Renaissance. They're about to kick off their Ingratitude Farewell Tour, which will be hitting a good portion of the U.S. throughout October. Annie, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate getting a few minutes to talk with you.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. If people are interested in the tour, all the dates are on our website, renaissancetouring.com. And also, if anybody's interested in my art, I have my website, anniehaslam.com.
We'll have links to both on there so everyone could find it.
Yeah. And we're also on Facebook. I think we get more action on Facebook, to be honest, I think, than the website. But the website is Facebook. It's Renaissance Touring, and my page is Annie Haslam Art. Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, again, Annie, thank you so much. Best of luck on the tour and best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much. Yeah, who knows what's going to happen. I do have my Christmas show coming up. I do one every year at the Sellersville Theatre in Pennsylvania, and it holds about 350 people, and it's like it's like me going back to my cabaret days because it's half the night's laughing. We have so much fun. It's incredible, and so we do mostly traditional Christmas. We have Rave on keyboards, and we have Jeffrey Langley on keyboards, and then we have John Arbo that's played in the band a few times, and he plays upright bass on it. So the sound is wonderful. Again, it's bringing that little string quartet kind of sound in. Oh, and we have a drummer as well. Yeah, the drums is Charlie usually, or Frank Pagano, one of those two. So it's so that's going to be that. And then the end of the year, the next year, who knows what might happen. I don't know if you know that I did a show with Rick Wakeman earlier this year.
Yep.
And that was fantastic and a great combination. And then I also was a guest with Asia.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. The band Asia came back, and my God, they were phenomenal. Oh my goodness me. And I joined them to sing this song called "In the End," which I recorded with Icon, which was Jeff Downs and John West, band. And it was I guess it was the catalyst, that song, to when I found out that John needed help, and I went over to England a couple of times and managed to get him into rehab. And the song, that's why the song means so much to me, I guess, and everybody else involved with John, because that was the major song. And I got up and sang it with Asia. It was amazing. And Tice from Focus played flute, and Jeff Downs was there. Perry Whitley is the new singer, brilliant, phenomenal singer, and also John Mitchell, guitar, incredible guitarist. And then one of the best drummers, if not the best drummer in the world, is Virgil Donati.
Yes.
Oh my goodness me.
Yeah, they definitely have an amazing lineup right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh my goodness me. Yeah. And it all started at John's memorial tribute that I went to, and I sang the song there as well in England last year. It all started there, so that was very exciting. Yeah. It's like just bubbling over now. It's just so good, and the reports, reviews and everything. And it was great to be part. It was great to be asked. I was thrilled. Who knows what the future holds? Let's hope it's all good stuff for everybody, all over the world.
There you go. Completely agree.
Yes.
Well, again, Annie, thank you so much. Best of luck on the tour, and we will talk soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.